I used to think I had it all. My life felt like something out of a movie, quiet, stable, filled with little moments that made it all worth it. My partner, Ayan, was everything I had ever wished for. He listened when I spoke, laughed at my jokes, and held my hand even when there was no reason to. Every morning, he'd wake me up with a kiss on the forehead and coffee just the way I liked it, extra cream, no sugar. He remembered the little things, like how I hated tomatoes in my sandwiches or how I couldn't fall asleep without a bit of music playing in the background. We had this rhythm, a silent language. He'd send me random texts in the middle of the day just to say he missed me. On Sundays, we'd do nothing but lie around and talk about everything and nothing. He made me feel seen, like I mattered in a world that often made me feel invisible. I trusted him, completely, without hesitation. Trust like that doesn't come easy. Not for someone like me, who had been let down before. But Ayan had a way of pulling walls down without force, just by being good. When I'd look at him, I'd think, this is it. This is love. Not the firework kind, but the steady, grounding, beautiful kind. I remember one evening we stood in the kitchen cooking dinner, music playing low, and he turned to me and said, "I hope we're still doing this when we're old." I laughed, told him he was cheesy, and he kissed my cheek and said, "I'm serious." That moment stayed with me longer than I thought it would. He never gave me a reason to doubt him. He made future plans. We talked about kids, travel, buying a place somewhere quieter. It felt real, solid, permanent. People envied what we had. Friends would comment on how lucky we were. I believed them. I believed in him. It wasn't perfect, nothing ever is, but the imperfections were manageable. A forgotten anniversary here, a missed call there. Nothing major. Nothing that made my gut twist or my heart question. And maybe that was the trick. He made me feel so secure that even the flaws looked innocent. I built my world around him. Not in a desperate way, but because he felt like home. It was natural, effortless. I wasn't chasing anything. I wasn't begging to be loved. I was just loved. Or so I thought. I remember journaling once about how lucky I was, how grateful I felt that I had found someone who didn't make love feel like hard work. It didn't even cross my mind that the very thing I believed in so blindly could be the thing that would someday break me. If you had told me back then that everything I thought was real could shatter in an instant, I would have laughed. I would have told you, not us. Not him. But life has a way of pulling the ground from beneath your feet when you least expect it. And it started with something so small I almost missed it. At first it was subtle, just little things I could almost excuse. Ayan started coming home later than usual. Not by hours, just enough to notice. He used to text if he was running late, but now silence filled that space. He blamed traffic, deadlines, last-minute meetings. Reasonable things. But something about the way he said them felt rehearsed, like lines he'd practiced before walking through the door. His phone, once left carelessly around the house, was now always in his pocket or face down. Notifications stopped lighting up the screen. He started taking calls outside or in the other room, laughing in a tone that didn't quite match the way he laughed with me. When I asked who it was, he'd brush it off. Just work stuff or nothing important. I wanted to believe him. I told myself I was imagining things. He became distant in ways I couldn't name at first. Conversations grew shorter. Our inside jokes stopped landing. There was a quiet detachment, like he was there, but only half present. I tried to bring it up gently, asking if he was okay, if something was bothering him. He'd smile and say he was just tired, that everything was fine. But I could feel the lie sitting between us, like a weight neither of us wanted to acknowledge. He started dressing differently too. More cologne, cleaner shaves, sudden interest in clothes he'd never cared about before. I complimented him, and he gave a distracted thanks, not even meeting my eyes. There was a night he came home with lipstick on his shirt collar, a color I never wore. I laughed it off nervously, teasing him, waiting for him to explain. He said it must have been from a coworker's hug at a celebration. I nodded. I didn't press. But things began to add up. He'd leave his phone charging in the bathroom, and once, I caught a glimpse of a message preview, just a heart emoji and a miss you. My stomach dropped. When I asked to see it, he got angry, defensive in a way he never used to be. He accused me of not trusting him. I apologized, felt guilty, and let it go. But it stayed with me. There were moments when he looked at me like he didn't recognize me. Not with hate or resentment, just absence. Like his mind was somewhere else. I knew that look. I'd worn it once, years ago, when I'd fallen out of love with someone but hadn't found the courage to say it. I started noticing patterns. He was always texting during certain hours. He stopped initiating anything, no dates, no affection. I found myself lying awake next to him, watching him sleep, wondering if he was dreaming of someone else. The warmth between us was fading, and I was the only one trying to hold on to it. I told myself it was a phase, that every relationship hits rough patches. But the doubt kept growing. And deep down, I already knew. I just didn't have the evidence. Yet. It happened on a Wednesday. A friend of mine, someone who worked in the same building as Ayan, sent me a message. She kept it simple. I saw Ayan today. He wasn't alone. That was all. No accusation, no assumption, just a seed planted. I sat with that message for hours, convincing myself it could have been anyone. A client, a colleague. But something in my gut told me to stop pretending. That night, I waited until he was in the shower and opened his phone. The password had changed. That alone was enough to confirm what I didn't want to believe. The next morning, I followed him. I never imagined I'd be that kind of person. But when someone you trust starts to feel like a stranger, you become someone else too. He met her outside a cafe. Young, pretty, familiar in a way I couldn't explain. They hugged like it wasn't their first time. Sat close, smiled too much, leaned in like no one else existed. I watched from across the street. It was like watching my life unravel in real time. And I didn't cry. I just froze. Later, I went home and sat in silence. Hours passed. When he walked through the door, I asked him directly, calm, quiet, already knowing the answer. At first, denial. He looked confused, hurt even. But I wasn't begging. I wasn't accusing. I just waited. He broke under the stillness. He admitted it. Not all the details, but enough. Said it had been a few months. That it started by accident, that he never meant for it to happen. He looked ashamed, but also strangely relieved. Like the weight of his secret had been heavier than the guilt. I asked him why. He didn't have a clear answer. Just vague explanations about feeling disconnected, needing something different, not knowing how to talk to me about it. I listened without interrupting. Not because I wanted to understand, but because I wanted to hear every excuse before I walked away. Every flashback hit me all at once. Every laugh, every touch, every time he said, "I love you," while thinking of someone else. I felt stupid. Not for trusting him, but for defending him against my own intuition. For gaslighting myself into believing love could never be this cruel. He asked if I hated him. I didn't answer. I wasn't even sure what I felt yet. Rage, grief, numbness, maybe all of it layered together. He said he was sorry. I think he meant it. But sorry doesn't undo betrayal. It doesn't erase the nights I stayed up worrying while he was with her. I didn't scream. I didn't beg him to stay or demand he leave. I just stood there hollow. There was nothing left to say. The person I thought I knew didn't exist anymore. And the man in front of me wasn't someone I recognized. He broke the silence once more. What now? I looked at him and said, "Now I choose me." In the days that followed, everything felt unfamiliar. The apartment, once filled with shared routines and laughter, became a museum of what used to be. His things were still there at first, but he wasn't. I didn't touch them. I let them sit as a reminder of what betrayal looks like in physical form. I moved through the space like a guest in my own life, quieter, more aware of everything I hadn't noticed before. I didn't cry every day. Some days I felt nothing. Other days, grief hit like a wave, unexpected and merciless. People asked what happened. I told them the truth without dramatics. I didn't need to prove I was right. The facts spoke for themselves. Some friends were supportive. Others were quiet, unsure of what to say. That was fine. I wasn't looking for pity. I just wanted honesty, something I'd lost and wasn't willing to sacrifice again, not even in friendships. I started doing small things to reclaim myself. Cooked meals I loved. Went for walks without my phone. Took long showers, not to wash the pain away, but to feel human again. I journaled more than I spoke. I didn't try to rush the healing. I allowed the silence to stretch, to teach me. And slowly, I began to feel myself return, not the version of me that loved him, but the one that existed before him and would live beyond him. Ayan tried to reach out. Apology texts, voice notes filled with regret, vague promises of change. I didn't block him, but I didn't respond. Not because I wanted to punish him, but because I had nothing left to give. Closure doesn't always come from the person who hurt you. Sometimes it's the moment you realize you no longer need anything from them at all. Forgiveness came quietly, not for him, but for myself. For the way I doubted my instincts. For all the nights I chose to believe in him when I should have believed in me. I forgave the version of me that loved blindly, that held on longer than she should have. That version was kind, loyal, and brave. She didn't deserve what happened to her, but she survived it. I survived it. Eventually, I packed his things. No ceremony, no note. Just a quiet act of closing a chapter. When the space was finally mine again, it felt like breathing after being underwater too long. I didn't fill the void with someone else. I didn't chase distraction. I sat with the emptiness until it felt like peace. People always say infidelity destroys everything. It doesn't. It destroys illusions. What's real remains you, your strength, your voice. I lost someone I loved, yes. But I found someone better, the version of me that doesn't settle for half-truths or almost love. If you asked me now how I survived it, I'd say this: I stopped waiting for him to make it right. I chose myself. Not out of pride, but out of necessity. And no matter what comes next, I know one thing for sure: I never imagined this could happen. But I'm still standing. And that's enough.